All right, folks, let's get into this one. The topic for today is going to be artificial intelligence. Now, I got to tell you what inspired this video. What inspired this video is a conversation that I've been having that's kind of been long-term, and portions of this conversation has been very interesting in that I talked to a lot of people about how deep AI is diving into our world today, especially as we are rapidly approaching the world of Revelation 13, the world of the Antichrist. But some people say, James, I'm just not a part of that. I don't have anything to do with it. I'm not in the middle of it. One of the things that kind of inspired me to bring this up is to say that literally, and this is no joke, if you are alive and walking on the ground in the United States of America, in most places, whether they be heavily populated places or in some cases remotely populated places, you are interacting with artificial intelligence in one way or another. And I am going to go over at least 13 or maybe even 14 areas where this is happening. We're going to have a conversation about this. And then later on, I'm actually going to get in depth into these areas. Maybe a few videos from now, we're going to get into some of the areas where it's really affecting it. And I think some of this stuff is just going to absolutely blow your mind. So we have to start with Revelation 13. So let's get into that really quickly. Revelation 13 will start in verse 11, and we are talking about three primary characters here. We are talking about two beasts, okay? One of them is the Antichrist. The other beast represents the false prophet, and the other beast, or the dragon, the third character, which is not a beast, the dragon represents Satan. So this is really important to understand this, because as we read this through, it's going to make a lot of sense, and I want everybody to understand where we get this idea of 666 from, and where the mark of the beast comes from, and the Antichrist, all those things. I'm going to read that passage to you right now. We're going to get into that, and then we're going to have a discussion about this and how it relates to AI. Now, again, this stuff is super critical, okay? This is super critically important, and we have to, if we're going to do any of this justice, we have to be able to spend even a little bit of time talking about the different issues related to this subject and why it becomes important to us. Now, I do want to say this, okay? We are undoubtedly not going to be, we're not going to be on the earth when a lot of this happens, okay? We know that, okay? We're fully aware of that, okay? But we also know that we are facing the type of world that we know the final Antichrist is going to be well in our midst, and he is going to do a lot of things that are crazy. Again, we won't be here. But the world is changing rapidly, and we're quickly moving in that direction, which means we're going to be raptured soon. So let me just read some of this to you, and then we'll move forward and we'll have a conversation about what all of this means, okay? Revelation chapter 13, it starts in verse 11. It says, "I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon," or spoke as a dragon, which basically means that he is going to be a spiritual leader. He is going to be very approachable because he is going to appear to have the kind of power that comes from being likable, but yet he's going to talk like Satan. That's kind of what it's talking about here, okay? Verse 12, "And he exerciseth all power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by sword and did live." Now, this is all very important stuff to be talking about, because this is a guy who's going to have an immense amount of power. And folks, when I talk about an immense amount of power, I am talking about an immense amount of power. I mean, this guy is going to have the ability to be able to do all kinds of signs and wonders, and is going to actually give credibility to the Antichrist that nobody would seem to want to worship, but will because of this spiritual leader. And it's interesting because the fact that this Antichrist gets a wound by the sword in his head, and he actually lives and he survives, is going to be one of the signs and wonders that's actually utilized here. And I do a lot of talking about this. I would recommend that you go to the Calvary Chapel Signal Hill live YouTube page, or go to jameskaddis.com. Better yet, go to jameskaddis.com and pull the Bible study that I did on this, Revelation chapter 13, verses 11, all the way through the end, which is verse 18. Very important. I get into a very extensive conversation about what this false prophet's going to do, and of course, what the Antichrist is going to do. So, look what it goes on to say. It says in verse 15, and he had power to give unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So what we know is that we are going to be facing a world where the final Antichrist is going to set himself up in the temple. We know this based on what Daniel tells us, the abomination that causes desolate. He is going to set himself up in the temple. He is going to demand to be worshiped. And when that basically happens, he is going to require an allegiance of that worship, or a sign of that allegiance. And that sign of that allegiance is going to be a mark, whether it be on the forehead or whether it be on the right hand. And it actually is the mark of the beast, which is in essence 666. Now, here's the question. It's the one we've always asked, and that is, how in the world is he going to enforce whether or not people can buy anything if the idea is that we have cash and we can do anything we want with that cash? Well, the obvious answer is you got to go to a cashless society. But then we knew this really quickly with the advent of credit cards, and when we started learning different methods of payment that have nothing to do with cash, we've realized that that isn't enough, because with cash or items that are electronic that still have the same kind of lack of controls as cash, you can still develop an underground market for all of these things and go virtually undetected, especially with the amounts of fraud and the things that are happening with that. So now they're taking it to a new step. They're going to central banking digital currencies. And with those central banking digital currencies, they are using AI to actually manage the way banks interact with people. And guys, I don't know if you know this, but there's some interesting news articles that have come up regarding this very issue. And perhaps one of the most significant of those articles that we have actually seen centers around what Jamie Dimon is actually doing, and the fact that he is now cutting a ton of jobs. Like, this is something that a lot of people didn't even know, but he is cutting a ton of jobs because what he's doing in essence is he is actually using artificial intelligence to take the place of all of these people that are working in banking function, which, by the way, I just want you to know, many, many times you might not realize this. If you've called your bank and you've spoken to somebody, it's very likely that who you've spoken to is actually artificial intelligence. And when you start talking about artificial intelligence in the banking system, you are bringing yourself into a mindset that people, listen, I'm telling you, people do not understand this, but you're bringing yourself into a mindset where everything that happens when you interact with that artificial intelligence is actually tracking your activity. So if you go to the bank and you say, I need you to expand my limit on this, right? I'm wondering what would it cost if I got this loan? There's all kinds of things like that that are out there. And the AI studies you, it tracks you, and it reports things, and then it creates a larger economy around those things. And it's just really important to think about that. Like, here's a great example, right? They're using AI right now in banking to be able to study your buying patterns. So they know how often you go to restaurants. They know what you buy in the morning. They know what type of coffee you want. They go through and they begin to buy, or they begin to record all of these different types of things that you're beginning to see. And then they know the type of things you're prone to doing. So if you're a person that likes coffee in the morning, then if you're a coffee company, you can pay your phone service, whoever it might be, a whole bunch of money to put an ad in front of you for your product. So if you're near a coffee company and or a coffee house or something like that, and you're on your way to work to go get your coffee, Your phone will pop up and go, hey, try this. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, or maybe there's a conversation that is had. Sometimes it's not even a conversation. Sometimes it's you simply spending money on something that relates to a project that you might be on, and all of a sudden you begin to see the other pieces of that project show up. All of that is AI, and all of that's what's happening, and it starts at the bank. And by the way, if you don't think this is the case, let me turn you on to a video that I have played for you a bunch of times. And folks, when I say I've played this a bunch of times, I've worn out how many times I've played this. But this video is very relevant, and the reason why this video is relevant is because you're looking at a central banker who is talking about the importance of central banking digital currency and why it means something. I'm going to let you listen to him all 45 seconds without being interrupted. Listen to what he has to say, because what he has to say here is very, very viable to the conversation that we're having. Very pertinent. Listen to what he says.
Now, in all our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that.
So that's kind of a scary thing, okay? If you look at what he's actually saying, he's saying that in essence, what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to track the money, where it's going, where it's coming from, all of these types of things, and they're going to be able to enforce how you actually spend things. And if you think, well, James, come on, that's really not a big deal. Well, CBDCs right now are alive and well in our banking system. We see them everywhere, and actually all over the country they're being used. As a matter of fact, it is in essence the mechanism that is being utilized, and I want to make myself very, very clear. It's being utilized every day on a regular basis to communicate with banks on the back end. As a matter of fact, when you had Silicon Valley Bank fall apart, remember, the falling apart of Silicon Valley Bank was not even felt by a lot of people because the depositors' funds were actually covered through the use of FDIC stepping in. And by doing so, they utilized the infrastructure created by the CBDC world and how AI moves that information into the pockets of these depositors. There was no bank run. They saved a major problem from happening. And there is, look, guys, there's stuff like this that is happening all day, every day. We're watching it happen. And by the way, I think it's really important to note this. Okay, JP Morgan, this is JP Morgan Chase. They have AI-driven management software that now, and this is a story that broke 2 days ago, that now has slashed manual work by nearly 90%, folks. 90%. Now, why is that a big deal? Some people think the obvious reason. Well, it just saves a little bit of time and energy and money because now you're automating something that somebody can do, and it makes it a lot easier, but it does more than that. It also records the activity that these engines, these AI bots are doing, and it now knows so much more about you. Because the more is being tracked by AI, the more is being stored about your activity, and the more they're able to understand what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It will come to a point in time where you will not be able to buy or sell unless you meet the conditions set forth by the bank, which, by the way, will be conditions that will be set forth by the rulers, which, of course, will be the conditions that will eventually be set forth by the Antichrist. And that's such an important aspect of what we're talking about. Now, there's there's AI in cars. People think, oh, well, I don't have a Tesla, so I'm not really interacting with AI. Well, actually, if you have a car that is anything newer than about 2000, you're interacting with AI. As a matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say if you have anything that goes back to 1997, if you have anything with OnStar in it, you have some level of AI being deployed in your vehicle. Even with the software updates, the type of things that are going on, AI just doesn't drive vehicles. AI controls efficiency on the road. There are so many things that AI does. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of cities right now that have adapted the type of transmitters that detect the signals that are being transmitted from cars like Teslas to be able to know what's coming down an intersection and when to open up an intersection versus when to close it. So governments now can even control the direction you're traveling in. They can stop you on a dime. They can shut your car down. Any vehicle that's been built or running in the United States of America since 2001 actually has the ability to be shut down technically through the use of satellite technology. So AI it's in cars. By the way, AI has been in the manufacturing of cars for the better part of 25 years. We're seeing it again and again and again. Now, I don't need to say anything about phones. AI in phones is just alarming, right? Your phone utilizes AI to do virtually everything that you can think about that you do with your phone. You ever wondered, like, if you started doing the type of activity tracking, like just for basic things, your calories, your health, all of these things. These watches have sensors that know your heartbeat. They take all of that information, your oxygenation levels. They bring all of that to the phone. That interacts with AI tools that are being controlled from supercomputers that are online in the cloud versus actual little things in the programming on your phone. It does all that stuff and is able to make assessments as into the condition of your health. When does your heart beat irregularly? What's your breathing pattern like when you are not resting? I can measure my heart rate right now. I can measure my oxygenation, my pulse ox. All of those things that you can do, all of those nifty things that you can do with your phone and with your watch, all are things that are functions of AI. They're recorded, they're saved. Your camera, by the way, is one of the most powerful data collecting tools by these companies because they utilize your camera to be able to make decisions on what you're going to eat next and what to sell to you. You can go in a store. There are some cameras. You go into a store, there are some phones that are able to detect your activity in a store. If you walk in an Amazon store, I promise you, your phone is one of the greatest and most powerful technology tools out there to do the type of things that we're actually talking about. And by the way, if you're on social networks, which is another way that AI is interacting with you, right? We've talked about banks, we've talked about cars, we've talked about phones, we talk about social networks. Guys, they know everything. They absolutely know what you're doing. They're gathering pictures from interactions you're having with family members and relatives and friends. And all of these things are things that are actually being all put together and real data is being collected. Let me give you an example of how this works in the real world, okay? If you go to your phone and you tell your phone, I need directions to go to, Auntie Barbara's house, okay? I'm just making up a name. And you live 40 miles away. And you tell your phone, I need to go there right now. Your phone will give you a dead accurate estimate as into how long it's going to take. How did they know that? How does your phone recognize how well or how fast you're going to get there and get it right down to literally a 30-second estimate? Well, it's really simple. There are hundreds and thousands, if not millions of phones that are on the same road that you're about to go on. And all of that data is gathered by the phone companies through satellites and other means. They know how fast those phones are traveling. They know the altitude that those, or the elevation that those phones are at. They know the humidity levels. They know what's going on with the weather. They know all of that information because those phones are collecting that information, and your phone will even know whether or not you're going to be in the carpool lane. It is able to detect how many voices are in your vehicle. It knows if your dog is in your vehicle and whether or not that dog is a human or not. That's a dog, so he's not gonna be in the carpool lane. Or actually, there's a dog and another human's voice. They're gonna be in the carpool lane likely. We're gonna adjust the time estimate for how long it's going to take. Some of these phones have the abilities to determine whether or not there's a transmitter in the vehicle or a transponder that's actually being used for all of these, road fees that you pay, whether it be the toll roads, that type of thing. You guys, it's everywhere, and that's how you know. And as a matter of fact, all of the predictive analysis that's being done, all of the ads that you're being sold, all of the things that you're seeing in social media, on websites, the pop-ups that you see, all of those things are based on data that they collect concerning the movies you watch, the music you listen to, the websites you go to, the conversations you're having. It's really funny how that works. There are people that tell me on a regular basis, they go to church, they hear a Bible study, And it's crazy how somebody then will go home, and as they're going home, they'll see an ad pop up on their phone that has an advertisement for a commentary on the book of Revelation that I'm teaching through, right? How do they know that? How do they know I'm studying the book of Revelation? How would they even know that I'm interested in a commentary? This happened recently where I made a recommendation on a particular document, right? A particular book that somebody can buy, like a reference book. And one of the people going home actually got a shopping site that popped up. I think it was Amazon that said, we've got this book you're looking for. How did you know? Right? That's all AI. All of that is AI, you guys. Every last bit of that, right? AI is involved in healthcare. That's a really scary one, right? AI is involved in how you book your appointments for healthcare. AI is involved in the medicine you take. AI is involved in the, yes, dare I say, some of the medical treatments, right? AI is involved in a lot of different things. AI is used in the healthcare industry to gather information about the type of things that you do, your drinking habits, your eating habits, all the health info that's logged on your phone. Those are all used by these companies. If you're somebody that's a diabetic, for example, and you've got a scanner that's on your arm that scans your blood on a regular basis, or you have a machine where you're poking yourself and it's recording your blood, those things synchronize with your phone, with the app. That app synchronizes with the web. The web synchronizes with your doctor who paid for the scanner for you to have, or to pay for the sensor that you have, and they know everything that's going on. They're able to interact with it. That's how AI is being touched in healthcare. How about this? Text edits. Did you know that? When you go to Siri and you say, Siri, type this, or you're driving and you can't type, so you use the voice recognition to type something. Or let's say you hold the voice command button and you ask your phone to give you directions to a place, or dial this number. Do you know that every single time you say something like that, they are recording your voice? They're recording the things that you say. They record the tone. They record the speed that you're traveling at the time that you're actually making the request for the directions. They record the location that you're in. They want to know how close do you get to your destination before you ask for help on a map. All of that information gives them better data for them to be able to exploit you in different ways. And that is literally the way it goes. And folks, I'm not exaggerating. This is the world that we live in. This is what happens with AI. And by the way, going back to healthcare for just 1 second, we have already seen what's been happening with healthcare in the world of Elon Musk and what he's been doing now. Now they have brain chips that they've implanted. And folks, these brain chips are crazy. Like, I had to show you what they're doing in that world, right? But text edits, that's a really interesting one, right? Because when you start getting into text edits, like I said before, it records everything. You tell it to type something, it happens, right? The other thing is things like facial detection, right? Or how about just simply walking into a store? Do you know now, if you walk into a grocery store, AI is involved on so many levels, it's not even funny. Let me show you a picture of an AI-based model that's being used now. It's been used for probably the better part of 8 years, okay? No joke. Watch this commercial. This is an Amazon commercial. Watch this. Look at how they're doing it. Now, it used to be you had a watch, you can scan the watch. It used to be, you had a credit card or something like that. Now, there's none of that. Now, they scan the palm of your hand. No joke, folks. They scan the palm of your hand. By the way, here in the Long Beach area, they already have stores that have this technology in it. They've had this technology in it for years. Okay? Watch this. This is, by the way, very, very interesting. Keep your eye out for this. Watch this.
This is Zoe. Just like you, she uses lots of different cards and IDs to get through her day. What if all Zoe needed was herself? Introducing Amazon One, a free service that lets you use your palm to quickly pay for things, gain access, earn rewards, and more. Let's say you're grabbing your favorite coffee beverage, or heading into the office, or checking out. Just hover your palm and you're on your way. It's as easy as that. Sign up is free and takes less than a minute. All you need is a credit card, your phone number, and your palm. That's it. Since your palm is unique and can't be lost or misplaced, you can get things done quickly and securely. And with more experiences on the way, Amazon One will help you get even more done, simply by being you. Now, Zoe has more time to do what she loves: indoor skydiving. Enter, identify, and pay with Amazon One.
And by the way, what's really crazy about this is Amazon is willing to make all of this technology available to free, to make this technology available for free to any business that wants to adapt the technology. And I'm not kidding. This is something that they're very serious about. Why they want to get these devices in every single one of these stores. Why? Because the value that they get is far greater than any capital outlay they're going to spend in getting these scanners there. Let's say a scanner costs them $10,000. They'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars for every $10,000 scanner that goes in there. Folks, I'm not kidding you. This is the kind of stuff that they're doing. And when they go out and they deploy this type of stuff, it's bringing to them the type of data that is just like mind-boggling to people, right? They're able to know the store that's here in my area, which, to be honest, to this day, I've never walked into. You walk into that store, you can take something off the shelf and it knows it was you that took it. You literally take whatever you want, you walk up to that scanner, put your palm on there, and you're good to go. That is literally the type of technology that's being deployed here, and it's very effective and it's very powerful, and they're doing this kind of stuff again and again and again. And by the way, if you wonder, well, okay, what if I choose not to do any of that? Well, they're going to learn. Look, they are going to make you comply. And again, AI is doing all of this. AI reports this data back to them. AI is watching over this. Watch this. And I've played this again many, many times. I've played this video again. This is he was the old CEO of Pfizer, but look at what the CEO of Pfizer says about a new technology that they've deployed. This is many, many years ago. This is at the World Economic Forum. I want to say something like 8 or 9 years ago, maybe even longer than that. But look at what he says. It's striking. It should cause you to be deeply concerned. But look at what he says. And I want you to focus on one very specific keyword that he uses. It's going to be important that you kind of pay attention to this, right? Tune into this. Okay, here we go.
Basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do.
You get that? He says one of the primary characteristics, he's saying it's compliance. It's making sure that, and he wants it to sound good. Oh, well, the hospitals are very concerned about their patients and want to make sure they take the medication that they're supposed to be taking. What if the medication that the hospital wants them to be taking is the medication that the government wants them to be taking, right? What if it's something like that? What if that's the issue that's going on? What happens if that's the case, right? I mean, you have to think about how crazy this can actually get. And folks, they're working very, 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 very hard to do this. They're talking about hacking human beings, right? They're talking about human beings being hackable, and they're talking about doing it through AI. Guys, I'm not kidding you. The kind of stuff right now, the kind of discussions that they're having regarding the AI subject is mind-boggling. Here's someone, we always try to play him every now and again because the nonsense that he says is so unbelievably blasphemous, but it creates the same kind of point that we've been talking about, and the point is significant, right? This is Yuval Harari talking about upgrading ourselves and talk about the spirit of Antichrist. Like, if you really want to understand what the spirit of Antichrist looks like, listen to what he says here. And what he says here is demonic. It's remarkably, it's just absolutely crazy. Take a listen to what Yuval Harari says about this.
That the next big projects of humankind will be to overcome old age and death, to find the keys, the secret to happiness, and to basically upgrade humans into gods. This is why the title Homo Deus, God-man. And I don't mean it as a kind of literary metaphor. I mean it in the literal sense that for thousands of years, humans have imagined gods in a particular way. They ascribed particular abilities and qualities to gods. And we are here in a church, and the walls are full of these descriptions of what God can do. And we are now seriously in the business of acquiring these traditional divine abilities and qualities to ourselves. So all these animals, all these plants, God created them, and they are all organic. Now humans are trying to do better than that. We will not just gain the ability to create these organic beings that's been around for 4 billion years. We are in the process of learning how to create the first inorganic entities, inorganic beings, like artificial intelligence, that ever existed. So in this sense, it's a literal claim that humans are trying to upgrade themselves into gods.
So humans are trying to upgrade themselves into gods. And this is a guy that really believes this nonsense. And the thing that's really crazy about this is he says that it's going to be better. Now, this is part of the lie of the devil. And we've talked about this, right? Artificial intelligence is never going to be smarter or better than what he's referring to or minimizing as simply organic. That is such a beyond absurd assertion, right? And we know that. This isn't like something that should be strange to us. It isn't something that should surprise us. These are the types of things that should be very, very obvious to us. The problem here, and this is the part where it gets really, really ugly, is that look, let me just say this. The spirit of Antichrist means instead of Christ. So the enemy is trying to remove mankind's collective consciousness by God by convincing them that they themselves can replace God. So this is the problem that we're facing right now, folks. This is the issue. And so AI is affecting so much of this, right? If you want to talk about things like even your smart home, if you have Alexa in your home, Google knows everything you do in your house. Everything. There is nothing that you do in your house that Google does not know about. Google knows when you're having conversations with your children. Google knows what you're telling your children. Google knows when you've spanked your children. If you have Alexa in your house, you have AI running your house, right? Hey, guys, I'm telling you, there are so many aspects of this. YouTube itself, we talk about YouTube and the YouTube algorithm. Do you understand that YouTube's algorithm actually is 500 different types of AI engines? Not joking, right? Because Google spends a lot of time in wanting to understand what people want to watch, and then it takes that data based on their watching patterns and provides for people what they want to watch. By the way, that has become a tremendous blessing for people like me because I can more effectively communicate the message of the gospel by getting it out to a larger and wider audience. And of course, the responsibility that I have is to rely upon the Holy Spirit and not AI. But there are lots of tools that are out there that give us the ability to be able to communicate more effectively. AI is being used in language translation. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, you can actually translate into other languages very powerful concepts and principles, truthful biblical principles, using the tool of AI translating from English to Tagalog, for example, or English to Japanese, or English to whatever. But it's also being used in very nefarious ways, right? Ways that are beginning to usher in the New World Order. And that's the goal. You guys, listen, everybody is talking about New World Order, even the President of the United States. I'll show you a video. And we've talked about this before. I've aired this video for you before, right? But what's interesting about this video is the fact that this is the President of the United States disclosing to you. He actually told you in a speech, I was in a secure meeting. He's talking about the contents of a classified discussion he's having with his leaders. In that meeting, he's talking about acceptable casualties, acceptable life laws. And in that, he's bringing in the context of the New World Order, the liberal world order. Listen to this. Listen how crazy this is.
You know, we are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it. So anyway.
Isn't that amazing? And these are the types of things that these guys, look, they have absolutely no problem saying any of this. Like this type of thing that I'm talking about here, guys, is not unusual to these individuals that continue to talk about this. And they are moving in that general direction. I mean, I've played the videos of, Prince Charles literally, in essence, talking about the Antichrist, right? Look at how they're seeking to even get inside the human body, to get inside the human mind. Look at the technology that they're deploying. Here's another one. This is a super old one. Guys, I'm going to play this for you. This is really, really old technology, but it's been deployed for a long time and it's being utilized everywhere. And AI is at the helm of this. AI, the information that they're gathering here, you guys, is actually being augmented by artificial intelligence. And they're gathering all kinds of info that will just absolutely shock you. It's the kind of stuff that will absolutely blow your mind. Watch this. This is amazing. Watch this.
And that has the effect of increasing the dispersal distance from the tree. And that's the name of the game, is spreading the seeds as far as possible.
So you're looking at an example from nature. You're watching, basically tree leaves fall. But what you're about to see are not tree leaves. Watch this. This is scary. For those of you that sometimes have a difficult time looking at smaller printing, it says, inspired by nature, a team of engineers at Northwestern University have developed the first flying microchip. Microchip, folks. First flying microchip. You breathe it in, it enters your system. Guys, the implications of this are outrageous. Watch this. The microflyer is the smallest ever human-made flying structure.
The goal of this project has been to add capability for winged flight to electronic circuit chips, with the idea that those capabilities would allow us to distribute highly functional but miniaturized
Look at how small that is, folks. Look at how small that chip is. The little shine of gold that you see, it's one chip. There's on that thing, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flying objects on that little tiny portion of his finger. There's 5 flying objects. You wouldn't be able to see it. Most people wouldn't be able to see it to save their life. No joke. Let me rewind this a little bit so you can see it again, okay? This is unbelievable. Watch this.
With the idea that those capabilities would allow us to distribute highly functional but miniaturized electronic devices that could sense the environment for disease tracking, population surveillance, maybe monitoring of environmental contamination.
Disease tracking, population surveillance. All controlled by AI, by the way.
And so on. So the objects that we've created consist of 2 parts. One is an electronic functional component that has an overall size scale in the range of 1 millimeter. So almost like a tiny grain of sand. But we've integrated with that electronic chip wing structures that form almost what looks like a helicopter. And so as these structures fall through the air, in interaction between the air and those wings cause a rotational motion that creates a very stable, slow falling velocity that allows these structures to interact for extended periods with ambient wind that really enhances the dispersal process, much like seeds do in the biological world. We think we've beaten biology in a sense.
Believe that? We think we have beaten biology. It says some of the microfibers are built with the material developed in Rogers' lab that will allow them to naturally degrade and disappear in around water over time. So you can have one of these things go in your body, you would never even know it. And they would have all that information about you. The implications folks, of what you're seeing here is unbelievable. And it's not just the fact that they're actually pulling data in. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has more to do with what they're doing with the data that they have. They're able to make connections with that data that, most researchers are going to struggle to be able to make, because they don't have enough manpower to make the calculations necessary to be able to understand, what exactly is being said, or what exactly is being done. And I think that this is something that is so unbelievably significant. And this is a very, very critical aspect of what's happening. And by the way, if you think that's a big deal, right? Then what about what Elon Musk has recently done with Neuralink? And we've seen things all over the news that are talking about this. Here's one example of a recent news story regarding this.
Dr. Leah Kroll joins me now for more just on this discussion and the operation. So Dr. Kroll, Musk says that the first human users will be people who've lost the use of their limbs. So let's get right to the science. I mean, how does and will this actually work?
Great to see you, Kira. This area of science is nothing short of very cool and very exciting. So here's how it works. Neuralink designed a device that functions like an electrode or a specialized sensor. That device gets implanted into the brain, and then it reads the electrical signals that our brain cells are constantly sending to each other. Those signals will ultimately get translated into actions outside of the body. In this case, we're specifically talking about controlling a computer or a smartphone app.
Wow. So you mentioned that this could be a major game changer in the piece. You're reiterating it now, but it needs to be proven safe and effective as well, right? So how will the company go about making sure that it is?
Such a good point. Safety is absolutely top of mind right now. And in fact, you can tell in Elon Musk's statement that he was pointing out that the person who received the implant is recovering well. So he knows that. The way that we ensure this is the way we ensure the safety and efficacy of any medical treatment, and that's by conducting rigorous clinical trials. So in the case of Neuralink, their trial lasts about 6 years. The first 18 months of it are kind of this short follow-up period where people are checking in with the investigators very frequently, making sure that things are functioning properly, that safety is intact, that nothing is going wrong. And then for the following 5 years, they continue to see the investigators regularly, but there we're really looking for long-term effectiveness.
So,
and by the way, I want to say this, and I don't think we need to go on any further with this story, but the investigators that she's talking about are not just human investigators. They are artificial intelligence investigators, folks. This is the type of thing that we have to continue to remind you guys of. All of what we're watching here is in essence the modern day Tower of Babel. And this is what we're watching. We are watching a time and a day where men and women are choosing to replace the general consciousness of God, or remove the general consciousness of God, by replacing God himself. And all the AI that we're seeing around us is signs of all of that. By the way, there are so many other areas where AI is involved, right? Customer service phone calls, chat bots. AI is involved in the production of your food. Matter of fact, on a significant level, it's been involved in the production of food for a long time. If you've eaten a cracker, you very likely have been eating something that has been manipulated by AI in one way or another. If you have eaten at a fast food restaurant, you have eaten food that's been manipulated by AI in one way or another. Folks, I'm telling you this. You have to listen to me. It's absolutely everywhere. All the stuff that we're seeing right now is everywhere. It's not, it hasn't, in every single way. As a matter of fact, I've talked about this. There are many pastors that are out there right now, and this is tragic. This is terrible, but it's actually happening. There are pastors that are out there right now that are utilizing AI to teach Bible studies. Right? They're going to ChatGPT or tools very similar to that, and they're actually saying, hey, write me a Bible study. And they're going and they're preaching the sermons that, of course, ChatGPT has made for them. And this is the ugly, nasty world that we're living in. And it's getting darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. And those things continue to be utilized as such. As a matter of fact, AI is being used to scan and predict the type of things people are saying to restrict or limit free speech. AI is being used on so many different levels to create a new society and a new world, in essence, a new world order. And folks, I'm telling you this right now, we are here. We are in this new world order. We are rapidly approaching the end times, the last days. And folks, we got to wake up. It's happening. And I have to say this because more than ever, we need to be on guard. We need to be on guard. Sunday, I'm going to talk about a video, or talk about it. I'm releasing a video that dramatically affected me. I mean, it disturbed me so deeply, and it involves something in AI, and it's the new type of pornographic material, and I'm telling you, it is destroying lives so rapidly, so exponentially. We got to open up our eyes. We got to wake up. Now, here's what we do, right? It's very, very simple. And I can't even begin to talk about how critical this is, right? The Bible tells us to be filled with the Spirit of God. The Bible tells us to seek the Lord. Look, there's a passage that I think is important to read, and it really has an effect on how we live our lives and the things that we do. And it's based on a simple psalm, right? Now, there's many passages like this, but this one really means a lot to me, especially in the world of AI, right? It's something to me that just means a lot. Let me read this to you. It says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful." But notice this. This is the part that I'm just really attaching to right now. "But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." I don't know about you, but I think more than ever, I want to be a person that holds very steadfastly to the Word of God. The Word of God is the only thing that we are ever going to be able to have to give us what is necessary in order to be sustained in the world in which we live. Guys, listen to me. The darkness is getting darker, and the world is changing rapidly. And more than ever, we must hold on to what the Bible tells us. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, it says this. It says, "All scripture is given by inspiration of God, and is profitable for what? For doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness," right? And by the way, when it talks about being given to us in instruction for righteousness, the purpose of that instruction is given to us in verse 17. It says that the man of God may be perfect, meaning fully encapsulated, right? Thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Read the Bible, know the Bible, understand what the Word of God says, lean in on the Spirit of God to live the way that you know God wants you to live, and watch God do amazing things. That's where it is, guys. Stay close to the Lord. In the crazy world of AI, this is the only way we're going to find victory. God bless you.